In a little town called Idi there lived a very young boy called Kami. Kami came from a very poor home, and as a result of this he was always bullied and beaten up by other students in his school because they knew he was very poor and had no one to defend or fight for him. Kami always wore torn and tattered his school uniforms to school because his father couldn't afford to buy him a new and neat pair of uniforms just like his spare. Each time the other students saw him, they often laughed and mocked him. They gave him a disgraceful nickname as "Welcome see the ripped pant, come see the ripped pants." They would always jeer at him and sing loudly. Sai would run to the back of his classroom and cry his eyes out. After crying, Kemi would wipe his tears and smile like nothing happened. He often wished his parents were also rich, and he felt that life was being very unfair to him. Sai was always sad and hot. His father Aim was a very hardworking and determined vulcanizer. He was well known for his honesty and good skills, and everyone in Idi village always went to him whenever they needed to fix their flat tires. His mother Ad was also supportive. She often washed people's clothes in order to raise money and support her husband in his business and at home. Asim, Kemi's father, knew the importance of education, so he worked day and night to ensure that Sai went to the best school in Idi. He wanted his son to have the best education he deserved, just like his past. Kemi attended the Royals Primary School and he was the best student in his set. He represented the school in many competitions and emerged victorious. This made his parents very proud of him. But while some people admired Kami's intelligence, some of his peers disliked and envied him. In Kemi's class there are two boys called Izzy and Adam. They were both from wealthy homes, but they were unserious in school. They didn't read their books. All they did was play and cause trouble. They also considered themselves as kings because of how with their parents were, and anyone from a poor home was seen by them as a slave. The teachers was always compare them to Kemi whenever they failed woefully in their tests or exams. Aren't you ashamed of yourselves? Despite your parents' wealth, a poor boy like Kemi do better than you in his studies. The teachers would ridicule and mock them because Kami always did better than them, but this only made them hate and despise Kamomi the most, and it exposed Kamomi to a lot of bullying and hate from his fellow students. However, despite the fact that Kami was always bullied by the students, he refused to tell his parents about it. He kept it away from his parents because he didn't want to make them feel bad. Kami knew they would feel bad if they knew that he was being bullied because they were poor. He saw them hustling and suffering day and night to put food on the table, and he felt pity for his parents, and as a result of this he kept the whole situation to himself. When Kami got promoted to primary 6, he represented his school in an international competition and emerged first. As usual, the organizers of the competition were so amazed at Kam's performance that they nominated him as one of the students to write a scholarship exam. If he passes the exams, he would be granted a scholarship until university. This made Kami and his parents very happy because they were poor, but A and Adam were so angry and jealous of Kami they started to plot against Kami and how to ensure he doesn't write or pass the exams. Kami had a best friend called Ochi. They had been friends right from childhood. They did almost everything together, which family was average, so he and Adam did not bully him like they did to Kami trusted Ochi a lot, so he told Ochi everything about himself a few days to the scholarship exam on a very cold afternoon in the school. It has just finished raining heavily and it was time for recess, so all the students had left the classroom except Kami remained in the class because he was worried that and Adam would bully him as always, so he sat down in his class and read his books to prepare himself for the upcoming scholarship exams. His best friend Ochi understood why Kami didn't want to go out, so he went out to buy some snacks for himself. And Kami, he had just finished buying the snacks and was on his way back when the two bullies and Adam stood in his way and started interrogating him. Where is he that your poor and wretched friend? He's in the classroom, Yuk replied. Fearfully, Ye and Adam were very influential, so Yuk knew he couldn't challenge them. This was the reason he was afraid. And Adam instructed Yuk to lure Kami to a very lonely path that will lead to the village river after the close of school. They, however, Yuk bluntly refused. He knew and Adam were mischievous and he was worried about what they planned to do to Kami. His friend Isa and Adam dragged Yuk to an empty class for outrightly refusing to do as they instructed and started beating him up when the pain was getting too much. Yuk pleaded with them to let him go and promised to do as they had asked after they assured him no harm would come to Kami. When Yuk got to the classroom, Kami saw the bruises on his face and asked him what happened, but Yuk lied that he stumbled and fell when he went to get the snacks, which convinced Kami to follow him to the riverside after school that day so that he would wash his body and remove the blood stains on his body before going home. Poor Kami believed his best friend and followed him through the lonely bush path where people hardly followed. It was very slippery and everywhere looked drenched because it had just finished raining that day. When they arrived at the riverside, Kami was shocked when and Adam suddenly emerged from the bush where they'd been waiting for them. Immediately they confronted Yuk and Kami struck Yuk on the head with a big stone and he fainted. Then they beat Kami to stir and threw him into the river, hoping that he would die and the river would take him away. Then they both ran back to the village and pretended like nothing had happened. They left Ochi lying by the side of the river. Kami didn't know how to swim, so he struggled and struggled to stay afloat. He was almost drowning when he found a big branch of tree and held onto it to prevent him from sinking. Kami started screaming for help, but the path was deserted and there was no one nearby to help him. Yuk was still unconscious, so Kami was helpless. Kami screamed and cried for help until the river took him away. A few hours later, Yuk regained consciousness. He looked for Kami all over, but he couldn't find him because the river had already washed him away. When Yuk got home, it was already late. He was shocked to see Mr. Aim and Mrs. Adisai, CS's parents, at his house. They were looking for their son. Immediately they saw Ochi. They rushed to meet him and asked him if he had seen Kami. They believed that Kami was with Ochi because Yuk was not yet back from school. Yuk knew that and Adam would kill him if he told Kam's parents about what happened, so Yuk lied that he didn't know where Kami was. I haven't seen Kami since the close of school today. He left very early, so we couldn't walk home together. Kam's parents were heartbroken at these words. It was getting dark already, so they headed to the school in search of Kami. They searched everywhere for him, but they were unable to find They went back home feeling very disappointed and very hot. Meanwhile, the river took Kami to a neighboring village called Agomba. He was floating helplessly while holding the branch of the tree when a fisherman saw him and rescued him. The fisherman rushed him to the hospital and Kamomi was admitted the next day. When Kamomi woke up, the fisherman asked him how he ended up at the river. Kami narrated all that happened to the fisherman out of anger and pity. The fisherman talked to his friend who was a policeman, and together they all went back to a village. Back at Ed village, Kam's parents were devastated. Stated they had searched the whole village for their son, but he was nowhere to be found. And Adam warned UKSTLY and threatened to throw him into the river if he told anyone about what happened that day. So you couldn't tell anyone because he was afraid for his life. When the fisherman came and the police arrived at CSS compound, his parents were very happy to see him. They jumped and screamed in joy. They hugged him passionately and started weeping because they thought he was already dead. The two policemen arrested the two boys for attempted murder and took them to Agomba village. However, ASA and Adam's parents were very influential, so they called the head of the police station and pleaded with him to release the boys. The two boys were released in less than 24 hours on the ground that they were still too young to go to prison, and they returned to CI school. Kami focused on his education and his upcoming scholarship exam. He avoided and Adam, and the two boys equally kept their distance because their parents warned them to stop bullying. Some days later, Kami wrote the scholarship exams and he passed brilliantly. He was given a scholarship to study in one of the best schools in the city. When Kami got to the school, he was shocked to find and Adam there as well. The school was for the children of Way family, so it was only normal for ISA and Adam to be admitted because they were from wealthy families. ISA and Adam continued bullying Kami. When they got to the new school, they would maltreat him and send him on errands. They would often ridle and mock him in front of other students. They told everyone how poor his parents were and made life miserable for Kami. This greatly affected his academic performance, and when his teachers began to ask him what the matter was, Kami explained the situation to them, and they decided to transfer him to another reputable school. He was eventually transferred to another school where he was able to focus on his studies without interruptions. After his secondary school, he gained a scholarship to a very reputable university in London and went on to study medicine. In a few years, Kamomi graduated and became a well-known and skilled surgeon who was highly sought for his expertise. He didn't forget his parents. He opened a very big supermarket for them and placed them on monthly allowance. Everyone in ID village respected them because they were the parents of the first surgeon in their village. They became very wealthy and prominent in their village. Meanwhile, ISA and Adam couldn't gain admission to any university. They didn't take their studies seriously because their parents were very wealthy. They continued lavishing their parents' money even as they grew older. One day, ISA and Adam were on their way home after lavishing their parents' money at the club when they had a very ghastly motor